This video illustrates the assembly of Burnham Commercial cast iron sections with the manual draw-up using the short draw-up rod method. These sections are designed to be drawn together, one section at a time, using ordinary hand tools and the provided short draw-up rods. Place the rear cast iron section in its approximate final position in the boiler room and support it with the suitable prop and wedges, or have another worker hold it up. Clean nipples and nipple ports thoroughly with a degreasing solvent. Use the Loctite number 592 provided to lubricate the nipples and nipple ports. Apply the lubricant to the nipples and nipple ports, then use a brush to disperse it evenly around the nipples and the nipple ports. Drive nipples squarely into section using block of wood and hammer. Place block over entire nipple edge and hit the wood with the hammer. A special nipple setting gauge is provided for the nipples. Gauge nipple at 90-degree angles to ensure that it is driven to the proper depth into the nipple port. Apply adhesive to the groove. Install a length of pre-cut fiberglass rope and firmly press the rope into the groove so that the adhesive holds it in place. When the end of the groove is reached, cut off the excess rope. Push the length of excess rope into the groove at the top corner of the section face. Cut off and discard any remaining rope after groove is filled. On size V903A only, open target wall carton, apply Celastic to back of target wall, and secure target wall to rear section. Position the next section to be installed. Clean and lubricate the nipple ports on the cast iron section to be assembled. Using a cartridge of RTV 6500 or RTV 736 sealant and a caulking gun, fill the grooves in this section with Celastic sealant. Touch up any missed spots before draw-up. Touch up after draw-up has no value. To facilitate assembly, it is advisable to enter the upper nipple first in its port, then enter the lower nipples in their respective ports. If necessary, place a lifting bar under the center of the section and lift the nipple port onto the upper nipple. Drive sections in place, striking blows as squarely as possible over nipple port. The large draw-up rod lugs with dual holes are cast in the four corners of each casting. Starting with the upper holes, install draw-up rods along with washers and nuts. Use a lubricant spray to rod threads to help facilitate to make assembling easier. Draw up sections slowly and evenly using an alternating pattern starting with the upper right lug, closest to the 7-inch port, and proceeding to the lower left, lower right, and finishing with the upper left lug. During the last pass, pay close attention to the Celastic sealant as it squeezes when the sections come in close contact. The Celastic sealant should continue to squeeze out wafer thin until the sections are connected metal to metal. If the elastic has stopped squeezing out from the connection and the sections still do not appear to be drawn metal to metal, use a feeler gauge provided to measure any gaps at the locations along the side of the joint. Gaps should be measured at these locations on both sides of the sections. A maximum gap of 0.025 inches is acceptable. Measure gaps at the outer edge of the connection only, making sure not to puncture the gasket created by the elastic and rope. Note: when tightening the draw-up nuts, do not exceed 150 foot-pounds of torque. Continue assembling sections in their respective order. Be sure to apply the sealant to the groove in the ground joints between adjacent sections as the boiler operates with the positive pressure in the firebox, and products of combustion will escape between sections unless the sections are properly sealed. The sealant should be applied before each section is placed on the assembly. Alternate draw-up rods from the upper to lower set of holes in draw-up lugs. Be certain that all sections are drawn up, iron to iron, at all 3 nipple ports. Note: if a joint springs apart, it must be redrawn tight within 4 hours of when this elastic was applied. After the assembly is complete, loosen draw-up rods and then retighten to finger tight. Then, tighten them an additional half turn with a wrench. This allows for expansion and contraction when the boiler is in operation. Perform a hydrostatic test after the boiler sections have been assembled. It is essential that the boiler be hydrostatically tested before the canopy, flue cover plates, jacket, or piping is installed. Plug all boiler tappings and fill boiler completely with cold water. Sections should be tested to 1.5 times the working pressure of the boiler. Disassembly. If a leak is present during the hydrostatic test and the sections need to be split apart, relieve the pressure on the boiler and drain down. Then, remove the draw-up rods. Then, use a chisel near the 7-inch and 3-inch ports to open up the joint. Once the section is apart, the nipples can be removed by tapping around the circumference with a hammer. Keep tapping until the nipple is loose. When reassembling, always use a new nipple and fresh Loctite.